All right, welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. You're right in time for what is in the headlines. And with me is a copy of the Standard newspaper and the People Daily newspaper. And we'll just be going through some of the stories that have made the headlines on these papers. And Mike has also two other papers, the Daily Nation.
I have the Daily Nation and the Star, yes.
All right, if I may begin with the Standard right here. And tighten belts as Ruto Care comes at an extra cost. Now, the pay slips for Kenyans employed in the formal sector will shrink further following the signing of the Universal Health Coverage Bill into law. The new law increases contribution that Kenyans have been making to 2.75% of their pay for the state health insurance that will then be matched by their employers. So if you are employed in the formal sector, you know that your pay slip will have some other deductions. And it actually says that for someone who was receiving, who was earning 90,000 Kenyan shillings a month, their usual contribution before this particular bill was signed into law was 1,200 Kenyan shillings per month, but now they will be contributing up to 2,475. If you want to get more details on this particular story, it is on page 2 and page 3 of the Standard. And another story right here on the Standard is win for tenants fighting to stop skyscrapers in posh Lavington area. Now, the Environment Court has barred a developer from putting up 512 house units in Lavington in a battle with neighbors over alleged failure to comply with zoning regulations and environmental concerns. The tenants of that particular estate, which is the Millennial Gardens estate, were seeking to stop developers from putting up apartments beyond 4 floors, and the court has granted them that. There's another story here. This one is actually an entertainment story where Kenyan artists shine at the first Trace Awards held in Rwanda. Now, the inaugural Trace Awards happened over the weekend in Rwanda, and we had Kenyan artists who got to perform. That is Nadia Mukami and Janet Otieno, but Nigerians were actually the ones who took the day as they got to win so many awards over there. If you're interested in that particular story, it is on the entire page 8 of the Standard newspaper.
I want to talk a little bit on that story. Why is Nigerian music taking over Africa? Because if you compare Nigerians and Kenyans at the continental level, their music is higher. It's getting played in almost every radio stations across, especially here in Kenya. So what is it that they are doing to get this recognition? And even when you look at American artists, some of them are looking for Nigerian artists when they want to do that Afrobeat. So what is it that the Nigerians are doing that
I think it's just a matter of time, and I think it's time for Afrobeats. Okay. Afrobeats is the in thing at the moment, and since it's what they do, so that's why they're shining at the moment. Okay. You know, our time will come.
All right.
Our time as Kenyans will come. That is Genge, which is our music. Moving on with what is on the Standard newspaper, double investment in education to improve quality and access. Chapter 4, Article 43 of the Constitution provides that every Kenyan citizen is entitled to, among other rights and freedom, the right to education. And this is in line with the Education for All goals that call on all countries to ensure they provide their citizens with free, accessible, and equitable education in tandem with the SDG 4 agenda. Now, last week, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development in Nairobi, the Kenya National Union of Teachers, KUPPET Parents Association, TSC, and the Ministry of Education, among other stakeholders in the education field, Field held a conference on funding and commercialization of education that was sponsored by Education International. So this is some good news for education. And if I may just read one more story from the Standard before we get to know maybe what is happening in the Daily News, in the Daily Nation. Stop bars near schools from playing loud music. Now, most bars and restaurants routinely play loud music. That is a fact. Some of them are located near schools, and since the national examinations will commence in 1 week's time, they should limit their noise pollution to give students time to write their exams. Now, better still, the government should ban them from playing loud music. That is a story that is on page 15 on noise pollution. I don't know what is in the Daily Nation before I go on.
Before I even get to Daily Nation, that story about those clubs in school, near schools. I think there should not be clubs anywhere close. Let's talk about 2-kilometer radius within any school, because that is a total distraction. And we know clubs, how they play loud music. And students in high school are at a stage where they want to explore. And sometimes, you know, students will want to sneak out of school, go try some things. And these clubs provide a very good ground for them to go try these things. So I think there should be more stricter laws that govern how these clubs are established and where they should be established.
Exactly. Because so the story should not be about them playing louder music.
It should be about them being taken away from schools, not close to learning institutions, because students, they are at a stage where they want to try things. And one of the things I want to try is taking alcohol.
So having a club around a school is definitely temptation.
It's
temptations for the students, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, let's look at Daily Nation. And the story that is making headlines is Kenya's phone theft syndicate. Many Kenyans admit to having lost their phones to snatchers and muggers on motorcycles, on foot, in matatus, or at nightclubs, but the brazen tactics employed by the criminals have reached alarming levels with the stolen devices.
Have you ever lost your phone on the streets? It's been snatched from you?
Nilitolewa kwa mfuko without me knowing. So it speaks to the security of the residents of Nairobi, because there are hotspots where that have been mentioned.
And Marie had mentioned
some of them are at the river, the Wilson Airport and South Sea, Rongai, Kajiado. So it speaks to the security
personnel.
The security personnel. There's something more they need to do. Even though they are trying to curb this, there's still something more that they need to do when it comes to this theft. Now, this story is continued on page 2 and 3 of the Daily Nation.
Yes, and on that note, I believe we should take a break, and then we'll come back with more on what is happening in the headlines.
Yes.